What's up, everyone? It's April 2nd of 2025, and in today's video we're going to be discussing the numerology, synchronicity, and some astrology of the death of Val Kilmer, a famous Hollywood actor, best known for his roles as the lead man in Batman Forever, Top Gun, and The Doors, as we will see in this video. So Val died at the age of 65 years old. And we're going to see how this is actually a number that connects him to Heath Ledger, who was another famous actor from the Batman film series who met an early demise. Heath Ledger famously, allegedly dying of a drug overdose a few months before his Batman movie was released. The movie that Val Kilmer starred in was 1995's Batman Forever, which is the only Batman film where he played the lead character. Now, in this movie, Val goes up against the Riddler. Not the Joker, but the Riddler. And this video will explore the numerical riddles underneath this news story about Val Kilmer dying on April 1st. Heath Ledger played the Joker during his time in the Batman franchise. The Joker, even though he wasn't played by Val Kilmer, is still an important character to Val Kilmer. Val was born on December 31st, or New Year's Eve, which, in the world of mysticism, is a date with very peculiar energy. The date December 31st and people born on this day are the only people whose birth card is the Joker. Every other day of the year is associated with one of the 52 standard playing cards, but December 31st is the Joker. And what this essentially means is that whoever's born on this day can assume the role of any other card in the deck. No life spread cards, no yearly spreads. It's a very unique card called the Joker. So that'll be a big topic of this video. Because on the same night as Val Kilmer's death, the NBA's Joker, three-time and reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic, had the best game of his career, scoring 61 points in a triple-double effort against the Minnesota Timberwolves, a game they actually lost. But a magnificent game nonetheless. And what this will ultimately do is lead us to a fascinating riddle to Serbian scientist Nikola Tesla. Now, of course, there's really nothing truly random in this world. And ever since March 18th, I've been blogging about Nikola Tesla. Someone brought a date to my attention a few weeks ago, March 19th, and how it connected to Tesla and potentially an earthquake. So I did my own digging and wound up with the trove of research connecting to March 19th. Now, obviously, we did not get a big earthquake on that date. However, virtually all of the numbers I discussed in that post would then later appear 9 days later as an earthquake struck Myanmar. And I did another post, you'll find both of these linked below in the description, that talks about how this is numerically connected to Nikola Tesla and the popular 666 code. So this has been a topic of sorts that's been trending. And now Jokic drops 61, his career high, on the same day as Val Kilmer, whose birth card is the Joker, passes away. Now, in a standard playing deck, we call this obscure card the Joker, but in the tarot, its equivalent is the Fool. And this brings us to the day that Val passed away, April 1st, which is commonly known as April Fool's Day. Notice how the word joke sums to 41 in the standard 26-letter English alphabet. It also equals 14, and April 1st can be written 4-1 or 1-4, depending on where you are in the world. This year, April 1st, 4-1, had reduced numerology of 14. 4 plus 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 5. The number 14 is also found in the ordinal gematria of the movie he was perhaps best known for, Batman Forever, 140. Using the reverse alphabetic order, where Z is numbered 1, Y gets the 2, on and on through A as 26, the name Val Kilmer also equals 140. And at the end of the video, we'll explore how this is a riddle for skull and bones as well, which also equals 140. But to start, let's talk about the amazing game put in by Nikola Jokic last night. As the date, April 1st, or 4-1, falls 41 days before the Joker's birthday. Well, after his birthday, but same idea. And this seems to be something he's embraced. I don't know if this is photoshopped or not. Kind of looks like he might have had a little fun with the makeup. Holding the Joker card. Well, Nikola Jokic was born in the year 1995. And that just so happens to be the same year as Batman Forever's release in June that summer. Jokic was 117 days old when that film came out. 117 is the alphabetic ordinal value of Bruce Wayne, which is, of course, Batman's real name. In the game last night, the Nuggets played against Minnesota. Notice how Nikola Jokic has matching 110 ordinal gematria with the state of Minnesota, which is, I believe, where the game was played. Let me double check that. No, the game was actually in Denver. And on the date of the game, Nikola Jokic was a span of 11,000 days old to match his gematria. The Batman film that was released a few months after he was born was called Batman Forever, starring Val Kilmer. And in our trusty Latin, or Agrippa's key method, which is the cipher that essentially bridges the gap from the ancient Hebrew and Greek languages into English, Batman Forever equals 1100. The name Batman also with capital letters, 101. Now, as we go, we'll also see how this connects to the city of Paris, France, because that's where Doors lead singer Jim Morrison died back in 1971. Jim Morrison was portrayed by Val Kilmer in a 1991 film called The Doors. Probably a perfect casting. I always think of Jim Morrison whenever I see Val Kilmer's face. They look a lot alike. Now, another cipher I want to mention throughout this video is Satanic Gematria, as it's structured around the number 666, which we'll discuss when we talk about the skull and bones numerology here. Denver Nuggets sums to 616 in Satanic Gematria. This is the Latin value of JFK. On April 1st, before we learned of Val's passing, Oliver Stone stood at a congressional hearing, and I urge you to look this up if you haven't seen it. He couldn't hear anything that was being said, and he kept saying things that weren't being asked, didn't make any sense. I didn't watch much of it, but it was a very peculiar scene in Congress. Well, Oliver Stone is the director of The Doors, starring Val Kilmer. So on the same day, he's fumbling around with Congress, and he's talking about the JFK file release. Now, why would Oliver Stone be there to talk about this? Well, notice how William Oliver Stone equals 233 in the alphabetic order, which matches John Fitzgerald Kennedy. So it's really no wonder. You may notice I have these 3 Kabbalah methods open. The reason I do is because the word riddle has triple gematria of 74 in these ciphers. And the man that played the Joker role against Val Kilmer, Jim Carrey, the Riddler. Well, Jim Carrey was born on January 17th, and if you measure from his birthday to the death of Val Kilmer on April 1st, that's 74 days later. In the standard alphabetic order, 74 is simple English gematria. All 3 of these words with a sum of 74. Shout out to everybody who made it in the chat. Susan and Coffee Girl, good to see you. The Illusion, who's doing awesome work out there. Always enjoy watching him speak. Great knowledge. Hopefully some great knowledge to throw back at you in this one. So I mentioned how Denver Nuggets has this 616 matching JFK. By the way, also, ritual sacrifice in Latin, 616, which is a perfect thing to match JFK, isn't it? Well, June 16th, or 616, is the release date of Batman Forever here in the United States. And again, it came out in the year 1995, the same year Jokic was born. Well, this brings us back to Heath Ledger, the deceased Joker, who was born 19 years and 95 days after Val Kilmer, who has the Joker birth card. In 1971, when Jim Morrison died, it was 41,995 days after the birth of Nikola Tesla. And again, more on Tesla in a little bit. Kilmer's death was exactly 21 years and 9 months after the founding of Tesla Motors, which has, of course, been all over the news lately, given Elon Musk and his forays into government. Tesla Motors named after Nikola Tesla. And this 219 stands out because that's Nikola Jokic's birthday. 219, or February 19th. Now, the big connection between Nikola Jokic and Tesla is that Jokic was born on the 19th of February, which is written as 19/2 in his home country. Meanwhile, Nikola Tesla was born on the 192nd day of the year. Val Kilmer died 1 year, 9 months, 20 days after Jokic and the Nuggets won the franchise's only NBA championship. 192, an integral number to Yale Skull and Bones, which equals 192, just like Secret Society. Skull and Bones, also the 192. And that's a good mention from the Illusion that Jokic was the 41st overall pick. So I mentioned a lot of 41s in regards to April Fool's Day earlier, like the word joke 41, for instance. And yeah, NBA Finals were won by a 4-1 margin. So we see what this was all pointing to. Now, I mentioned Jokic's birthday 219, right? And this 219 connection with Valmer and Tesla. Or did I say Valmer? I meant Kilmer and Tesla. The number 219 has matching gematria with Nikola Jokic as well. We get 218 with both phrases. The Hebrew word for moon and the English word for death equal 218. Both of these also equal 38. 38, a very important number to killing. The word murder also with this value. But not only do you get 38 with death, Val Kilmer died exactly 38 weeks after Nikola Tesla's birthday, with the end date included. And in reduction gematria, Nikola Tesla also equals 38. The Joker, also 38 reduction. And on April 1st, the Joker went up against Minnesota, which is another 38. 38, also the ordinal value of gold. And this is an important concept to Nikola's team, the Denver Nuggets, who are modeled after gold miners of the 19th century. This is essentially the NBA's version of the San Francisco 49ers. And of course, San Francisco home to the Golden Gate Bridge. And a special shout out to Decoding with Kodi, who, like normal, his channel is linked down below in the description. I first really heard about the Val Kilmer story this morning. I was dealing with a bevy of house issues and disasters, so I couldn't really join in, but some of the stuff I'm sharing today came from his video and those who were sharing with him as well. So the Golden Gate Bridge, construction began in the year 1933. Well, with 61 points last night, Nikola Jokic now has 1,933 points on the season. Back in the year 1933, President FDR signed an executive order that limited the possession of gold in the United States. 1933 this happened. And the number that's on the executive order, 6102, those are the same three digits in the date that the Denver Nuggets won their first and only NBA championship, the Golden Larry O'Brien Trophy, won on 6/12 by the Denver Nuggets, and their MVP, the Joker. So Jokic sums to 48, which matches the Sumerian value of Kilmer, 408. Kilmer died exactly 4,800 weeks after the signing of Executive Order 6102, reclaiming gold for the federal government. This is also 33,600 days. Well, Jim Morrison was born exactly 48 weeks after Nikola Tesla died. And of course, Jim Carrey, the Riddler, has the same first name as Jim Morrison, so there's probably more to that connection. But yeah, Jim Morrison, born in 1943, which is the same year that Nikola Tesla died. So you get the same alignment there as you do from Val to the executive order. And to cement this connection, the name Tesla equals 336 in English Standard. Val Kilmer died 30,036 days after Tesla. And what caused his death? Pneumonia? What do you think that equals? Using prime numbers, we get a 336. And I think there's actually a couple more that I may have missed. I tried skipping through Kodi's video, but I couldn't find that part again. And again, this all ties back to April 1st. In Gematria, April 1st sums to 65 in multiple methods. Single reduction and standard. Well, the 65th prime number is 313. Using capital letters, a cipher that maintains the alphabetic order but mixes in capitals and small letters. I like to call this the classroom cipher as well, as this is essentially the cipher that was above the chalkboard in my kindergarten class. Well, notice how both Val Edward Kilmer and Heath Andrew Ledger, these two Joker figures, each with Gematria of the 65th prime number, matching Val's age at passing. So next up, let's tie this in a little bit closer to Jim Morrison. And Jim Morrison has once again been a topic on my channel. Back in January, I made a video after the Catholic Church opened their 5th of 5 holy doors. And you'll see Jim Morrison on the thumbnail for that video. 2 days after that door was opened, a massive wildfire broke out in the same region of Los Angeles that Jim Morrison was from. The Laurel Canyon area was surrounded by a ring of fire. So I have a couple of videos on that immediately after the Jim Morrison synchronicity. Now, last night, Jokic had a record night against the Timberwolves. And check out the Timberwolves Gematria of 1991. This is the year that Val Kilmer portrayed Jim Morrison, 1991. And if you missed earlier on in the video, that movie's director, Oliver Stone, was speaking with Congress about the JFK files on the same day Val died. Oliver Stone has ordinal gematria of 154. This matches Kilmer in Latin and ritual sacrifice in ordinal. The date April 1st is also 154, but perhaps the best is in the alphabetic order, where Val Kilmer, Batman, equals 154. The Doors has gematria of 41 and 104. This reminds us of the gematria of joke, right? And this year, April 1st, had numerology of 14. So we see the same thing coded in with the Doors. April 1st has double gematria of 168, both with caps added and using triangular numbers. The name Nikola Tesla gives us another 168 in Sumerian. And this is the age of the famous scientist. Tesla would be 168 years old if he had invented a way to live forever. On the date Val Kilmer died, Heath Ledger would have been 16,800 days old. This brings us to the Latin value of Jim Morrison, 1,068. And earlier we talked about the number 219 in connection with Jokic's birthday. 219 with another 168. So if you measure from the date that the Vatican opened the 5th and final holy door for this year's Jubilee celebration. To the death of Val Kilmer was 86 days later. And how perfect. Jim Morrison's full name equals 86. So does Heath Ledger's. Val Kilmer has these same digits with his full and last names, 68 reduction in ordinal. And of course, 86 slang for offing or getting rid of someone. A term that is believed to have originated in the restaurant industry, who, at least here in America, certainly throws out a lot of food, but human sacrifice and blood sacrifice both equaling 86. And if you were to really dig and look for the first ever Batman comic, what you'll arrive at is DC comic number 27, which, as you'll notice, just celebrated its birthday. Back on March 30th, Batman turned 86 years old, just 2 days before Val Kilmer died. With the end date included, this is 86 years and 3 days. And it just so happens that Kilmer's death fell 8,603 days after the collapse of the World Trade Center, which of course was truly the ultimate skull and bones ritual, all under the watchful eye of George Bush, a graduate of Yale University, someone who was even born in New Haven, Connecticut. There's a couple more interesting connections here with Tesla and Kilmer, but I want to touch on this plutonian riddle as well. The full name, James Douglas Morrison, has some intriguing numbers. We looked at this 86 earlier, right? Val dead 86 days after the last door opened. Morrison, the lead singer of The Doors. In ordinal, his name equals 248. This is a number we associate with the planet Pluto because it takes Pluto approximately 248 years to orbit the sun. So what that means is that on June 14th last year, the United States celebrated its first Plutonian anniversary. Well, maybe you didn't celebrate it. Maybe you didn't know. But we over here in the, quote, community, we celebrated this day. Now, if you measure from that anniversary to the death of Val Kilmer on April Fool's Day, you get a span of 292 days. Well, in the reverse order, James Douglas Morrison equals 292. His name also equals 121, as does Morrison on its own in the ordinal method. Well, Val Kilmer had primary birth numerology of 121. Just like the phrase blood sacrifice 121. His death was 660 days after the Nuggets won the NBA championship, and that's the value of Pluto in Standard. So, pretty interesting stuff there. I'm just glancing over my notes here, and we're about to talk about Skull and Bones. And this is probably a good time to point out that Val Kilmer, Batman Forever, against his nemesis, the Riddler. Well, if you measure between the birthdays of Jim Carrey and Val Kilmer, we find that they were born 2 years, 2 weeks, and 3 days apart. 223. This same measurement is also 106 weeks, which is simply the number 223 when spelled out, 106. So that gives us the most recognizable Skull and Bones number, right? The 223, the 322. Hopefully we know all about it. One thing I wanted to touch on, though, is that Val Kilmer was 65 years and 3 months old when he died. That's the age he turned just one day before his passing. Well, the number 653 is a prime number. The 119th prime number. So I just mentioned the 9/11 attacks. That happened on 119. But another big 119 is gold standard. Another one is Nikola Tesla, both 119 in the alphabetic order. And notice how gold standard and Nikola Tesla both sync up with Nikola Jokic and Minnesota, the team he played last night. All of these sum to 47. And 47 is the 15th prime number. 15 is the number on Jokic's Denver jersey. Heath Ledger and Val Kilmer were born exactly 1,005 weeks apart. And on the date he spoke to Congress, right around the time of Val Kilmer's death, the Doors director Oliver Stone was exactly 1,050 sidereal months, or lunar orbits. Number 15, Jokic, was also born 15 years after the silver screen Joker, Heath Ledger. In fact, their birthdays are 322 days apart, from Joker to Joker. The name Val Kilmer has 322 Gematria. And when Jokic and the Nuggets claimed gold in the finals, it was in the year 2023. The name Jokic equals 223. Denver Nuggets equals 1223. And Jokic won the title in 2023, 10,223 days after the release of Batman Forever. The numbers 223 and 322 have matching gematria with Skull and Bones Society. See the digits 1770. Heath Ledger and Val Kilmer died a span of 17 years and 70 days apart. Skull and Bones is also called Brotherhood of Death. The Brotherhood of Death equals 187 in the alphabetic order, a number that many people recognize as part of the homicide code in several states, including California, the most populous one. Nikola Jokic equals 187 in reverse, as does Paris, France, where Jim Morrison died. Jokic lost to the Timberwolves on the same night Kilmer died, and Timberwolves and Kilmer both give us a 187. But not only does Brotherhood of Death equal 187, you also get 611 in Latin. And would you believe Jokic's stat line for this game? 61 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 6-1-1-1. Blood Sacrifice also gives us the 611 as well. So it's either a 611 or maybe it's just an upside down 119, which again connects to the age of Val Kilmer and the gematria of Nikola Tesla. Brotherhood of Death also gives us the number 666, which slots in nicely because Batman Forever shares 666 gematria with Batman. Batman passed away when the Joker would have had a 996 in his age, The NBA's Joker was 10,999 days old, with the upside down 666. So hopefully this demonstrates that whatever we see on the grand stage through the mainstream media, and in particular the world of Hollywood, whose job is essentially to brainwash the people who watch it. What I like about the last 10 years is that you're sort of seeing the dissolution of a lot of the spells that Hollywood has cast over the public over the last century. And it's scrambling to find new ways to do it. And you could call it successful in some regards. But it's nice to see so many people doing work on this. You know, obviously, I didn't get going for a live tonight until almost 9 o'clock Central. Pretty sure most decoders did a live stream before I did. I used to try and do streams like as quickly as I could, but I realized for me at least the quality would greatly suffer, and it was always better for me to just wait, put everything together nicely and neatly, and just get through it. It's not that I don't like communicating with the community or going to the chat and doing stuff. It's just not really in my personality. You know, I think I'm actually older than a lot of the people doing decoding nowadays. Like I'll be 40 in a couple months. And I don't think my generation is like, you know, we don't socialize online. It's as naturally as some of the younger folks do. So, yeah, I understand why, you know, other channels have a lot more views. That's great. I'm so happy that these tools I've, you know, built have led to this explosion in knowledge. Every once in a while, someone, like a friend or one of my brothers or whatever, they'll send me a screenshot of a video they were watching on YouTube where someone shows Gematria from my calculator, and they're like, hey, man, it's getting huge. And I'm like, I know, it's been huge. But it is awesome to see. My little baby has grown legs and taken his diaper off and, you know, made headway all over the world. And it just trips me out sometimes, though. Like, you know, when I think of human progress as a whole, you know, we're not like accomplishing anything truly spectacular like a lot of our forefathers did, but this knowledge, I feel like, is going to lead us truly to something great. And, you know, I think we're already partway there. It's just a matter of continuing to do the work, spread the knowledge. You know, sometimes people ask me, like, you know, you get these videos where you only get a couple hundred views. How do you keep doing it? And it's like, well, one or two of those views might be new people. And that might be all it takes to rope those people into this world of mysticism, to see that there's something greater going on. And the fact that there is a greater order to the universe is a medicine to so many people in this world, especially when such disorder surrounds us. And, you know, you guys are all familiar with the remote monkey experiment, right? Where, you know, they taught monkeys on an island to use a tool, and all of a sudden monkeys like hundreds of miles away were using the same tool right away afterwards. There's absolutely something to be said like that for Gematria. I mean, a few years ago, even at the beginning of COVID, if I was talking to a random person, I wouldn't really tell them about Gematria. Just because it's like, it's not worth it. I don't want to get into this conversation about what I do, you know, but now that I own my own business and it's, you know, it's making a little money, and people have looked around and seen weirder and weirder things happen. People are more open to it now, and they want to hear about it when I start talking about it. It's really cool. So hopefully that encourages others to continue speaking out, speaking the part of the truth that they can see. Some people like that spin that around and say, oh, I'm speaking my truth. This is my truth. But that assumes that truth is subjective, which it's not. The core principle of truth is that it's an objective fact. And you see this when they try to twist the most objective facts into lies, like gender, for instance. And while a tiny handful of the population does struggle with gender dysphoria, the promotion of it as a tool to the children is just wild, man. And maybe I went too far at the end of the video. Maybe that's what's going to get me canned and censored. But obviously, public perception has changed a lot on that. It's just wild to look back and see the last few years of the madness and how it's actually, like, they actually got pretty far pushing it. I still can't believe it, but... All right, I'm way off topic now, so, rest in peace, Val Kilmer. You know, I wasn't, like, a huge fan. I don't watch a lot of movies, but, you know, a believable actor. You know, one who just screamed Hollywood through the screen when you saw it. Like, you knew it was a high-quality film. Talented actor. And gone pretty soon. No doubt. So, thanks to everybody for jumping in on the live chat. Always appreciate it. Whether you're watching live or archived, please do feel free to like, share, subscribe. And, yeah, if you can watch the movie Pi on YouTube, I absolutely recommend that. The main character of that film has the same birthday as I did, you know. And he builds the thing that decodes the Torah in the movie. Now that you mentioned it. The character he plays in that movie is named Max Cohen, which equals 83. And that's my Gematria, Derek Tickery. 83. Sean Gillette was born on June 4th. And that's exactly 17 years before I was born. And he was born in the year 68. And my name, my full name equals the 68th prime number, 337. His name, Sean Gillette, matches Gematrinator. Look at that. 141, 183. So think about this. My real name matches his character's name, and his character's name matches my stage name, Gematrinator. You see what's going on here, guys? The reason I go so deep with these decodes is because there's got to be a point where you realize who's doing this. And I'll be honest, I don't think anyone's really doing this. I think, yeah, we get some news stories here and there, but did someone murder Val Kilmer by the numbers? You could say so, but where's the evidence, man? Are the numbers really evidence? I don't know. I know I'm opening up a whole new can of worms here. But this is the reality we live in. And, you know, we just talked about Jim Carrey in this video, as he played the Riddler opposite Val Kilmer. Well, remember, this guy starred in the number 23, where he's teaching Gematria on a whiteboard, right? The number lettering system. Well, did you notice my full name Gematria? 203? And how old do you think Jim Carrey was when I was born? If you guessed 23, you're correct. But what's so crazy is that Jim Carrey was born on January 17th, and I shit you not, the day I first built the online version of the Gematrinator calculator was on January 17th, Jim Carrey's birthday. Notice how that date had 55 numerology? Jim Carrey was 55 years old. I'm telling you guys, this world is much, much, much more magical and beautiful than even most of you realize. But some of you will just be like, oh, Derek's one of the hired guilds. He's one of the Freemasons. He's one of the Jesuits. And it's like, okay, yeah, all right, people are doing this. Well, then who told me to build the calculator? I'm going to tell you right now, it was nobody. I guess I could say maybe there was a voice in my head that told me to. But that was it, man. So yeah, all I say is keep an open mind. And that's what I appreciate about a lot of people doing this work is that, man, we're just swimming in the matrix. You know, this is a huge fishbowl that's spinning pretty fast, and we're only here for a short time. It feels like a lifetime, but that ain't long in the grand scheme of the cosmos. So, you know, that's okay. We don't have to agree on anything anyway. That's the beautiful part about it, is that we can all be fascinated on there is a machine operating, and it's pretty magnificent. All right. So, that was fun. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the side roads we took at the end. Sometimes the freeway, you know, it's the fastest, but it's also the most boring. And, yep, Gematria, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th dimensions. Probably more than just the 4th. All right, everyone. That'll do it for this one. Peace, love, God bless. Again, check the links in the description for more. But that'll do it. See ya.